A mother searching for her lost son in the aftermath of the deadliest attack on American soil since 9/11.
But I don't know where my son is. No one can tell me where my son is. If he's been shot, if he's dead, no one knows. He's not answering the phone. But he was sitting right next to his boyfriend, and his boyfriend definitely was shot with multiple gunshots and taken in the ambulance.
The gunman, Omar Mateen, made his way into Pulse, a gay nightclub, around 2 a.m. Florida time. His siege lasted 3 hours. During that time, he used an automatic rifle to shoot more than 100 people before he himself was shot by police. Christopher Hansen was inside.
There was blood splattered on me, and I just remember just the screaming, and I was like, are you kidding me? Oh my God. So I dropped down, and I'm crawling out, and I'm just like, oh my God, please, 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 please. And all I could see was looking up because people were stepping on each other, because I got stepped on a couple times, and I was just like, oh please, just please make it out, please, please. And then when I did, I saw people shot, I saw blood everywhere, there was blood all over me. I didn't know if it was my blood, I didn't know, so I was checking my whole body. When I got out, I realized it wasn't mine. It was somebody else's, and then there was just people in the streets that were shot, and they were laying down, and they were tagging them red and yellow. They were putting people in the back of trucks because they couldn't get the ambulance or get enough people to come in. So those that were tagged yellow, I remember, were being put in the back of trucks and escorted if they could walk. The person I was with was shot in the back. I had to take my bandana off and tie it up, put it in the bullet hole that was in his back so that he wasn't bleeding, because he was bleeding so bad his whole pant leg was red, and it was so soaked. It was just, my hands were just covered, and I didn't know what to do but just stand there and tell him to be strong. And there was somebody else who was on dispatch who had already called 911, was helping, and so I was helping him try to make sure he was okay, holding his hand, telling him he's going to be okay, he's going to be okay.
Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer declared a state of emergency in the city.
And it is with great sadness that I share we have not 20 but 50 casualties. In addition to the shooter, there are another 53 that are hospitalized. Because of the scale of the crime, I've asked the governor to declare a state of emergency. We're also issuing a state of emergency for the city of Orlando so that we can bring additional resources to bear.
Mateen was identified as a 29-year-old man who was born in New York. As investigators searched his home and car, firearms special agent Trevor Valinor said Mateen had only just purchased the weapons.
He is not a prohibited person, so he can legally walk into a gun dealership and acquire and purchase firearms. He did so, and he did so within the last week or so, but he did purchase 2 firearms, a handgun and a long gun, within the last few days.
The FBI said Mateen first came to its attention in 2013.
He made inflammatory comments to coworkers, alleging possible terrorist ties. The FBI thoroughly investigated the matter, including interviews of witnesses, physical surveillance, and records checks. In the course of the investigation, Mateen was interviewed twice. Ultimately, we were unable to verify the substance of his comments, and the investigation was closed. In 2014, Mateen again came to the attention of the FBI because of possible ties to Monar Abu Salah, an American suicide bomber. The FBI conducted an investigation, including an interview with Mateen. We determined that contact was minimal and did not constitute a substantive relationship or a threat at that time.
Mateen made his own 911 call from the nightclub during his rampage, pledging allegiance to Islamic State during the call. The incident was condemned by the Florida governor, Rick Scott.
It's clearly an act of terror. This is, you just can't imagine this would happen to our community, our state, or anywhere in our country. But for somebody to go in there and be an active shooter and take that number of lives, any life, but that number of lives and injure that many people is clearly an act of terror.
The U.S. President Barack Obama described the shooting as a massacre. He said it was not just a crime of terror, but of hate.
As a country, we will be there for the people of Orlando today, tomorrow, and for all the days to come. So this is a sobering reminder that attacks on any American, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation, is an attack on all of us. Today marks the most deadly shooting in American history. The shooter was apparently armed with a handgun and a powerful assault rifle. This massacre is therefore a further reminder of how easy it is for someone to get their hands on a weapon that lets them shoot people in a school, or in a house of worship, or a movie theater, or in a nightclub. And we have to decide if that's the kind of country we want to be.
While the actual extent of Mateen's connection to IS is not known, leaders of the American Islam Association and the Council on American Islamic Relations condemned the shooting, describing it as heartbreaking and unacceptable.
We need to look at this issue of mass shootings because we just had one too many today. And I think we should do something about it to stop the mass shootings that are happening all the time.
This is a hate crime, plain and simple. We condemn it in the strongest possible terms. It violates our principles as Americans and as Muslims. Let me be clear. We have no tolerance for extremism of any kind.
At least 53 people were injured in the attack, many of them critically. As trauma specialists operated around the clock, the Orlando community came together, queuing around the block to donate blood.
We have spent the morning operating on a number of victims. We continue to operate on them. We have found many of them are critically ill, and we are in the process of trying to reunite families as we identify the names of these victims.
Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton tweeted she woke up to devastating news from Florida and described it as an horrific act. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump tweeted that he appreciated, and I quote, the congrats for being right on radical Islamic terrorism. He then went on to say he wanted toughness and vigilance. And Bernie Sanders expressed his horror, telling media ISIS must be destroyed.
Our hearts and condolences go out to the families of the 50-plus people who lost their lives in this unbelievably horrific mass murder. And our hopes and our prayers go out for those who are wounded, and we certainly hope that they make a full recovery. It goes without saying, to my mind, that ISIS must be destroyed, and that we have got to do everything humanly possible to prevent these types of tragedies from occurring again.
Festival goers at the Washington Gay Pride Parade said they weren't deterred by the incident.
It's very personal, I should say, and it has very much changed our day. We can't stop thinking about it. Little tidbits here and there, because it really did, it hit home. These are our brothers and sisters, and it really hurts.
This morning, the White House lowered its flag in memory of those who lost their lives and those fighting for their lives. This man left the Pulse nightclub at 1:50 a.m., just before the shootings began. He left many of his friends behind.
God had his hand over me. They were beautiful people, and they didn't deserve that at all. And I pray that when they go to heaven, that they see everybody that cares for them.